Afternoon, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, you are. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. It's my privilege and honor to extend my
Sir, namaskar,
very
sir,
warm-
namaskar. Yes, please. Raman, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to one and all. It's my privilege to honor to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Keshav Jha, Assistant Professor of Law at Bennett University, Greater Noida, Uttar Pradesh. Dr. Jha brings in with over a decade of rich teaching experience. He is an alumnus of Delhi University and Jawaharlal Nehru University and holds a doctorate in law from Amity University. His academic expertise lies in the interpretation of statutes and Indian knowledge system, areas in which he has built a strong teaching and research profile. Dr. Jha has significantly contributed to the advancement of legal scholarship. He has published 26 UGC care listed 15 research papers at various national and international application. Today, he will addressing us on the highly the curriculum design and BCI in respect of NEP 2020. This topic holds a great importance as we collectively strive to align legal education with the vision of National Education Policy 2020 and the involving mandates of PCI, that is Bar Council of India. On behalf of GH Raisoni Skill Tech University, Nagpur, and our collaborating institution, as well as the conveners, participants of this faculty development program, I take immense pride in welcoming you, Dr. Jha. We are truly grateful for your gracious presence and look forward to gaining valuable insights from your expertise. With these words, I once again welcome you, sir, and invite you to share your knowledge with us. Thank you, sir. Dr. Jha.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope I'm audible. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
And on the onset, first of all, I would like to thank and express my gratitude to GH Raisoni University for having me here in this FDP. Can I share my PPTs? Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm unable to share. I mean, is there some technical glitch or I'm unable to figure out why am I not able to share?
Presenter.
Okay.
So you can share your PPT with
Sure, sure, sure. So shall I mail you or what?
So I'm sending text only one.
Mhm. Okay, all right. Raman sir, can I start my presentation without sharing? Can I go ahead if you allow?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Please continue.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I am supposed to deliberate on curriculum design and Bar Council of India mandate in respect to National Education Policy 2020. So first of all, this NEP 2020, one needs to understand that this NEP 2020 has several guiding principles that shape how curricula are to be designed. And one of the most important guiding principle happens to be the holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging learning. The moment I say holistic learning in itself is self-explanatory, although, but I would like to elaborate it a little bit. Holistic means something which is in opposition to that reductionist approach. That is, there should be a wholesome fructification of what exactly needs to be learned and what needs to be dealt on with regard to each and every subject matter. Now, learning should not be rote, and by rote, I mean to say that it should not be only mugging up the things and then vomiting out in the examination hall. And then, so there's a departure, fixed departure from this approach. And instead, rather, inquiry, discovery, and discussion and analysis based learning is what is promoted and is what is targeted and aimed at in this NEP 2020 with the emotional, ethical, aesthetic, social, and cognitive dimensions. Now, this holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging learning becomes one of the objective and main objectives of NEP 2020 because this envisages a stark departure from what we have already seen in the previous decades and previous time period, wherein there was kind of a reductionist approach and to reduce the things to one watertight compartment and straight-jacketed stuff, wherein if you are studying one specific field, then you were confined only to that one with no legs and interdisciplinarity in with that emphasis. Secondly, the objective which was aimed at was reduced curriculum load. Now, this also is self-explanatory and this prioritizes core essentials in each subject to allow the space for critical thinking, creativity, and students' own exploration. Now, what is notable here is own exploration, students' own exploration. The reason why this specific expression has been added in the NEP 2020 is unless and until what has been taught is explored by the student himself or herself. The ultimate culmination of that knowledge cannot be reached. So that is why this specific expression has been added, that is students' own exploration in this objective of reduced curriculum load on the student. The next objective happens to be the flexibility and choice, wherein it implies that there is no rigid streaming early in the stage, and students should have choice in the subjects. The inter and multidisciplinary options would be given, and mixing academic, vocational, arts, and sciences. Now, flexibility and choice needs to be given because it fosters a non-rigid approach, and it facilitates learning in the sense that each and every stream of knowledge is interrelated. Interrelated in the sense that to have a proper and wholesome understanding of one needs to have proper understanding of another field of study as well. So this is also one of the key objectives of NEP 2020. Now, another objective which has been targeted is multilingualism and mother tongue, or in other words, what is popularly considered as the home language. Now, use of local, which we later on also will see this 5334 model, in which this mother tongue was emphasized a lot, and this use of local language, especially in foundational years, were possible and support three language formula. Now, there's a specific rationale behind having this multilingualism and this emphasis on the mother tongue. And the moment we say, especially in that foundational years, this multilingualism and that mother tongue has been emphasized, the reason for that is there have been studies in multiple universities with regard to the cognitive faculties of any individual, and it was concluded in multiple studies that more creativity and more scientific temperament can be referred to only when you think and you operate in your cognitive level in the mother tongue. Now, this is a specific reason why this mother tongue or home language or multilingualism has also been one of the objective and reasons for inclusion in the NEP 2020. The other objectives being early childhood care and education, which is popularly known as this ECC inclusion, and the ages 3 to 6, which is the preschool time or preschool part, that has been included in the format of this education. And formally, the curriculum and pedagogy developed for ECC has been there. And we will see it in detail in the later part as well. This pedagogy and curriculum development for the ECCE. Then the next objective happens to be the competency and skill development, in which there have been a lot of emphasis on the 21st century skills, be it critical thinking or communication or collaboration or creativity, also vocational skills to begin from middle or secondary stages. This middle and secondary stages also we'll see when we discuss those 5334 model. Another objective, or the next objective, that this NEP 2020 emphasizes is assessment reforms, which clearly connotes the move from the high stakes exams, rote learning, towards a continuous formative competency-based multidimensional assessment and holistic progress cards. Now, the moment I say it, it's a shift from rote learning and old style of evaluation and assessment to a continuous formative competency model. I would like to this reminds me of one of the system that I myself faced while I was doing my post graduation from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and there was a system to which we all students were accustomed and we were made familiar with, and that system was the system of tutorial discussions. Now, what was happening in that tutorial discussions was that we were assigned specific topics. We were supposed to prepare on that topic, and after the preparation on the scheduled day, we had tutorial discussions, and that was formally considered to be part of continuous evaluation. That is, the student was not supposed to be evaluated at the end semester examination or in the end of the semester. Rather, continuously throughout the semester, this thing went on so that this engagement of the student is properly ensured. Now, coming to the next objective happens to be the localization and contextualization. Now, these two sounds to be very, very technical and or rather a very bombastic jargons, but then they have got absolute relevance here for the simple reason that while there is a national curriculum framework in which one is supposed to adopt the local needs, and the culture, the geography, the language. So more and more emphasis has been provided to contextualize the things. Contextualizing means, now there's a popular saying in the field of literature. I mean, those who have been well acquainted with all these writings of be it Hindi literature or Marathi literature or vernacular literature or English literature or Sanskrit literature or whatever. There's one thumb rule in all these literary stuff, and that is any text, if you interpret without its proper context, that will not give you the original taste and the original sense of what exactly the author was willing to write. So this contextualization and localization has been emphasized here again in NEP 2020. Now the next objective happens to be the teacher education and the capacity building. Now this new curriculum framework also requires the teachers to be trained in the new pedagogy and teacher education curricula to be aligned. Now this alignment is a must. Why? Because who is ultimately responsible for navigating through all these big ideas that I have that have been mentioned in all these NEP 2020? It's ultimately the teacher, and unless and until you train the teachers in the new pedagogy and the teacher education curricula is aligned, this is ultimately going to fail. The whole effort is going to fail if this is not achieved. Now let me throw some light and put some emphasis on this process and stages of curriculum design under this NEP 2020. And here in the first step happens to be the policy formulation and the vision setting. So now this NEP 2020 itself lays down the vision, the principles, and broad mandates for what curriculum should aim for, and identification of the needs, that is the foundational literacy, the local context, the vocational skills, all these. So the first stage happens to be the policy formulation and vision setting. Now the second stage is the constitution of steering or mandate committee or the expert groups, which is the National Steering Committee for NCF development, that is curriculum framework development, and state steering committees for the SCF, that is the state curriculum framework. So these are some of the formal parts which have been obviously ordained for the proper designing of the national curriculum framework and the state curriculum framework. Then the next stage is the stakeholders consultation. Now this is a new addition in the sense that previously it was not there. And the moment I say previously it was not there, I am indirectly pointing towards the responsible and one of the most appreciable part of this NEP 2020 is that it consults the stakeholders. That is wide consultations with the states, with the teachers, with the experts, with community, with parents, and deliberation on what competencies, values, content, pedagogical methods, assessment modes, etc. is needed. Now the next stage happens to be the drafting of framework. So the National Curriculum Framework for School Education gets drafted first, and the drafting involves deciding the structure, which I mentioned on two previous occasions, 5-3-3-4 model, then the learning outcomes, the subject groupings, the cross-cutting themes, that is the values, the 21st century skills and all that would be included here. Then the next stage happens to be review and feedback. That is, the draft is shared, feedback is taken, and the revisions are made. Now, after that comes the stage of finalization. Finalization of what? Finalization of NCF and SCF, that is National Curriculum Framework and State Curriculum Frameworks. Now, after incorporating feedback, final versions are approved. Then comes the stage of textbook development and the textual materials preparation, and in that the NCERT and the state bodies prepare the textbooks, the teacher guides and other materials in accordance with the approved frameworks. Now then comes the stage of capacity building of teachers, in which the training teachers and new pedagogy is involved, in which the inquiry based, experiential, multilingual, or these are the different kind of pedagogies that I have already discussed. The focus is on the capacity building of the teachers. Then comes the stage of implementation in schools, and schools adopt the new syllabus, the new curriculum, and the assessment bodies align their assessments. After that comes the monitoring, the assessment and periodic revisions, in which the regular review of how the curriculum is working is done, and the National Curriculum Framework to be revisited and updated every 5 to 10 years to keep up with the evolving needs. Now, there lies the room for improvement. So that has been one of the most important features of that. So in entirety and in its totality, if one has to see the basic ingredients and the features of the curriculum under NEP 2020, one can say it's the stage-wise learning. Stage-wise learning means the 5-3-3-4 model, as we all know, that this structure is aligned to the various age groups. And age groups means the first structure being aligned with the 3 to 8 years age group. The second category aligns with the 8 to 11 years of age group. Third category gets aligned with the 11 to 14 years of age group. And the fourth category corresponds to and gets aligned to the 14 to 18 years of age group. Now, the play and activity-based learning in early years happens to be the most experiential learning-based years. So that is obviously one of the most happening and one of the most appreciable thing in this whole stuff. The second most important feature I would in my opinion, would be interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinary learning towards secondary school, and kind of a breaking silos between the art, science, and vocational stream, and just to make it a little bit more congruent with what the famous scientist Albert Einstein once said, that all streams of knowledge are not independent of each other, and whether be it arts, humanities, or science, everything converge at one particular level if you view it from a higher pedestal. So this is something which is on a pedestal which has been aimed. And the next important thing would be the choice of subjects and electives, and the ability for students to select subjects in which they want to go deeper, which is obviously one of the most important steps, because this gives a lot of freedom to the students to choose the subject of their choice, because not everyone wants to go deeper in each and every stuff. Someone might be having some specific bent of mind, and the other student might be having some other taste. So this gives a flexibility and this gives a freedom to the students. The next important feature would be the integration of the vocational education from the middle or the secondary schools. And then last but not the least would be the language policy, that is emphasis on the mother tongue or the local language up to at least the foundational years, flexibility in the three language formula as well. Now, if at all one has to think about what can be the challenge and rather the tricky areas where one has to work, is that then one can say that yes, ensuring all states and union territories uh, having capacity to adapt the frameworks and teacher training and the material resources happens to be one of the major challenges that needs our attention. And then language diversity also is one of the major challenges, because there are multiple languages. We are a country of diversity, and we have multi cultures, and we have uh, this. So the major area of concern is creating materials and training in many regional and mother tongue languages. I mean, there is no uniformity in that. There is diversity, and this is, although a strong point for our civilizational ethos, but then this remains a challenge because it creates some difficulty in creating a uniform material in the sense that learning and study materials need to be prepared with equal quality, with uniformity. The next challenge would be the assessment reforms. The reason why I'm saying that this assessment reforms would be a problem is that it's very difficult to implement, especially changing from the traditional board exams or the exam culture to the newer ones. Why? Because we all are accustomed to one specific system, and generally in physics we call it inertia. Then generally there's an inertia not to change if we are accustomed to something. So this also happens to be one of the major important challenges and hurdles. And the next important challenge would be the ensuring equity, that is, the rural, remote areas very often have less infrastructure and fewer trained teachers. So equity will always be an issue there. And time and resources for writing the textbooks and teachers' education will also be a challenge. So these are few of the challenges which we and more than the authorities need to look at. And now let us shift our focus and attention from this curriculum design to the legal education and what this NEP 2020 has to say about the legal education and the Bar Council of India's role. So coming directly to the main issue and starting our analysis of what BCI's role and uh, the nexus between this NEP 2020 and the BCI's role in the legal education is this. NEP 2020 proposes a unified regulatory architecture for higher education under a new body, that is the Higher Education Commission of India, HECI. And what is noteworthy here is this is having a regulatory arm, that is NHERC. Now, professional education in law and medicine are explicitly excluded from the jurisdiction of NHERC. So the legal education continues to be regulated separately, with the Bar Council of India being the regulatory body for law. So this exclusion of legal education from NHERC's jurisdiction happens to be one of the important features. Now, emphasis on equality and and contextual curricula. This is another feature with regard so far as our legal education is concerned, and NEP calls for legal education to become more multidisciplinary in nature, and law faculties or the centers of legal education are expected to embrace subjects and perspectives from the economics or political science or philosophy or sociology to produce holistic legal education. And also the curricula should reflect socio-cultural, local and constitutional values. This is what is mandated, and we'll see later on how and via what means the Bar Council of India has throughout attempted to go about that and target that and aim to achieve that. Now, the use of technology and timely delivery of justice, inclusivity. The policy urges that the legal education use technology, ensure that access is widened, for example, by the bilingual education, the local language uses, make the system more inclusive. This is also what is expected. And the next important thing is the alignment of curricula to the contemporary needs. This alignment is compulsory in the sense that NEP expects the legal education to evolve to handle new challenges, emerging domains, new laws, new technologies. Also, law schools are expected to introduce short-term and diploma or credit courses. Now, if one has to discuss why and how the PCI is doing by its own rules or circular consistent with the NEP 2020. So on the left hand, if we take the mandate of curriculum updates to include new enactments, now what the Bar Council of India has done is that from the academic year 2024 to 2025, law institutions must include that Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita or Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita and Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam into their syllabi. Now, if we take on the left hand the mandate of inclusion of emerging subjects, the Bar Council of India has directed that emerging technology related subjects be included. For example, the artificial intelligence, cyber security, the blockchain, the robotics, the bioethics, and so on and so forth. Now, if we take the third category or the third mandate being the computer education, now there was a specific circular in 25th of June 2024 by Bar Council of India, which mandated the computer education in LLB, both 3 and 5 years, honors and non-honors programs. And so far as that mandate of bilingual or regional language instruction is concerned, that Bar Council of India has issued guidelines asking legal education institutions to offer bilingual education, English and regional or home languages, so as to increase accessibility and reflect the local context. Now, the constitutional values and social cultural contextualization, which we have already discussed earlier, and the Bar Council of India mandate that legal education includes constitutional values, the socio-economic, political justice, and that syllabus should reflect the socio-economic and cultural realities. Now, so far as this mediation as a compulsory subject is concerned, this Bar Council of India has already, via its circular number BCID 1897 and 2020, aligned with more varied methods of dispute resolution. So, in a nutshell, the point that I'm trying to make is that these are the mandates, and Bar Council of India has time and again, via its various circulars, attempted to achieve that and start that whatever has been mandated. Now, what Bar Council of India is expected to do under the NEP 2020 is to ensure centers of legal education having the required faculties, infrastructure, and resources so that they can deliver updated quality curriculum. And NEP stresses infrastructure and teacher quality. Bar Council of India must enforce standards. So this is what is expected of the law institutions, to have good trained faculties, infrastructures, and resources so that proper standard, good quality education can be provided. Now, to regulate the inputs and outcomes, not just what is taught, but how legal education produces outcomes like researchability, ethical professional conduct, the skills in advocacy, the court management, the clinical legal education, the technological skills, everything. Now, NEP emphasizes outcomes, experiential learning, and Bar Council of India is expected to ensure law schools provide such exposure, because this is a must for the ultimate grooming and flourishing of the legal mind. Now, a periodic review is also expected, or review of what? Review of the legal education curriculum, updating the law curriculum with societal, with legal, with technological changes. Now, this includes introducing new laws, changing the content, removing the obsolete topics, and obviously we all know that Bar Council of India has started doing this via its guidelines. And another expectation from the institutions happen to be the inclusivity and access, bilingual teaching, regional language materials, translations, enabling rural or semi-rural students. That is, supports multiple entry exits, local language medium accessibility, and so this kind of an inclusivity is what is being expected from the institutions. Now, this collaboration and multidisciplinary approach is something which is new. And the reason why I'm saying this is new is that law is no longer standalone, and integration with the humanities, social sciences, economics, and technology, each and every stream is interconnected. Also, the introduction of short courses, credit courses, co-curricular internships, everything has been in place. Why? Because this approach has been shifted from a linear stuff to a multidisciplinary approach. Now, the transparency and governance has also been emphasized, so much so that although not specific only to BCI, NEP's emphasis on light but tight regulation, that is, public disclosure, financial probity applying to the professional bodies, including the Bar Council of India. It is expected that Bar Council of India will function in a transparent manner. And some of the areas where there lies still some ambiguity and where the Bar Council of India is yet to fulfill all the expectations is the lack of explicit legal education commission. That is, also some stakeholders, appeals, are seeking a separate legal education commission or the expert committee to systematically oversee legal education reforms in line with NEP. But then NEP doesn't explicitly create such a body just for legal education apart from BCI's existing legal education committee. But then that still remains to be an area of concern. And another gap would be, I believe, uniform implementation across the states, because varying capacities of law colleges, infrastructure, faculty, language competences means that implementation of bilingual education, experiential learning, technology adoption will vary widely from state to state, from one geographical area to another geographical region. And then overcoming resource constraints is also one of the major challenges, because translating materials into regional languages, hiring faculties with both legal and interdisciplinary exposure, and that requires funding and systemic approach, not just the rules and all. And one most important and relevant thing that I want to focus and that I want to pinpoint here is that what I liked the most in this approach of the new NEP 2020 is the interdisciplinary approach. This interdisciplinary approach, the reason why I'm saying so is I myself have witnessed and I myself have researched on few of the areas at a time when this new idea of IKS, Indian Knowledge System, this idea of IKS, Indian Knowledge System, emerged in this NEP 2020 itself. But I did my research work in my PhD research much before 2020. And this happens to be one of the areas without which you can not proceed with your civilizational ethos in the world. And the reason why I'm saying so is right now also in my university, that is in Bennett University, I am supervising students having specific interest in IKS, Indian Knowledge System. And I was amazed to see that they are trying to connect these ethical values and ethos of Bhagavad Gita or the Vedic concepts or the Rig Veda concepts or the Upanishadic concepts with the specific training modules which can be fed into that artificial intelligence and all those systems. And the very fact that these ideas are coming in the young minds is that, and there was one of the conferences in which um, it was specifically that IKS conference itself, in which there were multiple scholars who were working, and when they were asked why have you chosen this specific topic, they said we do not need any external uh, validation of all those moral and ethical values either from Socrates or Plato or Aristotle. I mean, these needs to be studied, but unless and until we research on our own ethos, on our own scriptures, this integration will not be possible. So this interdisciplinary approach which the National Educational Policy 2020 has come up with, which has emphasized this, I personally believe will take us very, very far, and ultimately only this specific thing has the potential to really make us the Vishwaguru, the technical expression which is often used for India, for the aspirations of India, that we are Vishwaguru and will re-emerge as Vishwaguru. So this is again re-emphasized in this ideal of IKS and interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinary approach of NEP 2020. And this reminds me of one another story of one of my scholars who is doing a PhD on the application of the Nyaya Shastra in the contemporary legal scenario. And the way he is researching Nyaya Shastra, I mean, just to give you a sense of what kind of research work is going on in this part of the universe, I'm just give me a few minutes. I want to give you a sense of what exactly this is leading us to. The scholar is working on Nyaya Shastras. Now that happens to be one of the major knowledge archive of our civilization. In Nyaya Sutras, there are various forms of argumentations. They are Vada, they call it Jalpa, and there is a third category called Vitanda. This Vada, Jalpa, and Vidanda, if they are researched properly, and if the whole sutras are researched properly, I do not feel that there is anything equivalent to this kind of sophisticated approach to how a lawyer should argue, because then it will automatically impose a filter on what is relevant argument and what is irrelevant argument, what is a relevant piece of evidence and what is an irrelevant piece of evidence. It's so beautifully written. Of course, there is one challenge and there's one gap in the research there as well. And that major challenge is that one needs to have a competence of the Sanskrit language. Only then you can understand it properly. Otherwise, if you do not have that, then you will end up in studying the translations only. And one of the major faults of major lacuna of reading these translations is that they have their own colored vision, they have their own interpretations, which you do not and which you cannot decipher and figure out by what motivation, by what biases, by what inclinations they have been interpreted. So I would like to finish and end my, my speech on a point that, as far as possible, as is mandated by this NEP 2020 as well, because there's a lot of emphasis on IKS, Indian knowledge system. I have already discussed and told you about two of my scholars. One of them is working on the ethical and moral values in the Bhagavad Gita and how to apply that in the AI and artificial intelligence systems. And another one was working on Nyaya Sutras and the various forms of argumentations, the Vada system, the Jalpa system, the Vidanda system, and all. So, there remains a lot of areas. There remains a lot of areas which needs to be researched, properly researched, which needs to be brought before the intellectual community, and which needs to be properly interpreted in a way as it is written. Say, for instance, for instance, the Mimamsa school of thoughts, the Mimamsa Sutras, one of the most radical, one of the most brilliantly written piece work by the sage Jamini. It tells you how to interpret the legislation. It tells you how to what are the various tools of interpretation, and how these tools of interpretation are multidimensional in nature. Multidimensional, by using the expression multidimensional, what I'm trying to suggest is that the moment you read it, you will realize that it's something more than just literal rule of interpretation, golden rule of interpretation, mischief rule of interpretation, or strict interpretation. You will realize the magnanimity of what has been written by this Shruti principle, Ling, Vakya, Prakaran, Adhikaran. All these are principles. Then uh, you have multiple nyayas, you have multiple uh, siddhantas, you have specific system of interpretation. There would be this specific proposition, then there would be purva paksh of that, and how to properly do the purva paksha. That is also mentioned, and that is not only mentioned, we have chapters full with regard to that. So what I feel is the most important need of the hour is to go for an extensive research on all these ideas of this Indian knowledge system, which the NEP 2020 has emphasized and has brought to fore, and is very much promoting and is encouraging the students and the researchers to research on, to learn, and bring all those brilliant ideas forward. So, with these words, I would like to conclude myself. I would like to thank GH Raisoni University for having me here. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. such a enlightenment of your thoughts. As we come towards the conclusion of this meaningful program, it is important to express our gratitude to those who made it a success. To formally extend our thanks, I would like to invite my colleague, Mr. Gaurav, to deliver the vote of thanks. Gaurav, sir.
It is my privilege to thank for the follow and organizing the said I express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed Professor Dr. Krishna Sir and Dr. Kandar for their constant guidance, encouragement, and support in making the development program a meaningful learning initiative. Our special thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Keshav Sir, Assistant Professor, Bennett University, Grater, Noida, for delivering the insightful of curriculum BCA in respect of NEP. So your presentation has truly impacted us on the whole in terms of legal education under the NEP and BCA guidelines, and has provided us with a valuable perspective for curriculum development and teaching practices. I also thank I also take this opportunity to thank all the participants for their active involvement, thoughtful questions, and keen interest which added immense value to each session. A dedication to the organizing committee, technical for inputs, dedication, and reimbursement efforts ensure the smooth conduct of this program. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Now we are closing this meeting. And if anyone have any questions, you can ask.
Sir, I have a small question. And now the
Okay.
BCI has
So please
made
unmute yourself.
the... Sir, I am Samaya from Andhra Pradesh. I have a small question, sir. That BCI has made the syllabus for entire country, but a provision is given to the universities to design their own again. So then the universities are making the syllabus in a different way, and one university syllabus of one state is not similar to the other state syllabus in law courses. Then why it is not making a uniform to all universities in the country?
Hello, am I audible?
Sir.
Yeah. Could you please repeat your question?
Sir, this BCI has made a syllabus for the law courses in India.
Okay.
And now then an option is given to the universities again to design their own syllabus for the subjects, because subjects are common with throughout India. Same subjects are there, contract is there, tort is there, evidence is there, IPC is there. But whereas they are designing the syllabus for the semester courses in different way, it is not tallying with the syllabus of one university with the other university. Subject is same, but topics are designed in such a way that is totally different. That students, whether they are following or not, is a different one. But once that syllabus is made by the BCI, why it is not uniform to all universities, even private or the universities?
All right. That uniformity, I would, I have a different opinion with regard to this topic, and then of what exactly you have asked. I personally believe that there should be one anchor of uniformity so far as the main issues are concerned. Like say for instance, if BSD has to be discussed, none of the university can avoid Keshav Bharti, right? If labor law or the industrial relations code has to be there, or that idea and conceptualization of industry has to be there. Bangalore Water Supply and Sewerage Board versus A. Rajappa 1978 cannot be avoided by any of the universities. So I personally believe that there should be one anchor of uniformity, and after that some little amount of freedom can be given, so as to again I'm using those two words which the NEP 2020 has used, that is for the localization and the contextualization. These are the two expressions which NEP 2020 uses. But after that anchor of uniformity, some amount of contextualization and localization can be allowed. That is what I am of that is what my personal view is. That would solve the issue raised by you, that there is a big disparity between one university to another, between one syllabus and another syllabus. In that manner, if that model is adopted, that will serve the purpose, and that will kind of mitigate the stuff and kind of a way forward to resolve the issue which you pointed out.
What is happening, sir? The Board of Studies chairman is there, and that Board of Studies chairman of the university dealing with the affiliated colleges, they are making their own syllabus and it is approving in the board and then they are implementing. But whereas in other state, if I observed, then that is different from the syllabus of this university. Like that 2-3 university syllabus I verified, then it is not matching with one with the other. But overall subject is one, but topics what they are designed is totally different.
Yeah. So the model which I just now said, with a little amount of contextualization and localization, as
Yes.
that would solve the problem, I believe.
Okay,
Because in
sir.
that
Thank you,
manner,
sir.
the main things would be covered, and plus the scope for that localization will also be provided.
Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Sir,
Thank you so much.
this organizers one question, sir. You please kindly share that feedback form, sir. Yesterday that you have not shared, but it was there here. But after leaving out, it is not coming again. Because in the group,
already shared in the chat box.
no. Yesterday chat box it is there, but you are sending in the our group, no, sir. Please kindly
Yes, sir.
share that also.
Right, sir. We'll share.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You have enlightened a lot regarding this NEP and the legal education. Very nice presentation, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Right, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks so much.